Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at a wonderful new Steelix. And there's something weird going on with this Steelix, ladies and gentlemen. Because you see, this is a fighting type Steelix. And some of you might be thinking, well, come on, Wassy, Steelix is part ground type, and ground types come as fighting in the Pokemon trading card game. Surely it's not that weird that we're getting a fighting type Steelix. But no, it is. You see, Steelix made its debut in the trading card game in Neo Genesis in December 2000. That is almost 2 decades ago. And in that time, we've had 20 different Steelix cards, and one has been dual type, fighting and steel. Fighting and metal in the trading card game. Except actually that doesn't really do it justice, because that wasn't even a Steelix, it was a Mega Steelix. The Steelix was a metal type. Now bearing in mind, many years ago, in EX Rocket Returns, we had a half dark, half metal Steelix. In 2004. It's been 15 years since we got a dark Steelix. Come on. But we got a proper fighting Steelix now, so I suppose the question is it worth the wait? And if we have a look at the basics here, oh my goodness, this is a big, beefy boy. We've got 170 HP on a stage 1. Most stage 2s don't get up to that. Dragonite sits on 160. This is 170. The only Pokemon that can rival that is Wailord. Then, of course, we need to have a look and go, oh, hang on a second. It's got a retreat cost of 4. That means we can use buff padding. It means we can search it out using Pokemaniac. Lets us search for free Pokemon with a retreat cost of exactly 4. So that's kind of nice. It's weak to grass, which outside of Celebi and Venusaur really isn't terribly relevant, and it's a fighting type, which means you're hitting weakness on Pikachu and Zekrom. You can use Diancie Prism Star to do extra damage. You can use Black Belt to reduce the amount of energy you need to pay, by 1 fighting if you're behind on prizes, and you can use Martial Arts Dojo to do an extra 10 damage, but an extra 40 if you're behind on prizes. All of the basics here are phenomenal. So what does it do? Well, our translation does come from the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net, and me playing around with Google Translate, but mostly Joe. And for 1 fighting energy, it does 20 damage, and you attach 2 fighting energy from your discard to this Pokemon. This is awesome, because you can already see that the second attack is pretty gosh darned expensive. It ain't no cheap attack, ladies and gentlemen. So the fact that we can accelerate 2 fighting energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon is huge. Because now you got free energy on. So now all we really need to do is get 2 more energy on and we're fine. So if you're behind on prizes, you attach for the first turn, use the attack to get up to free energy, attach for the turn to get up to 4 energy. With a black belt, you have paid the energy cost. Or maybe you're playing around with something like Welder. I'm still waiting for a bunch of people to start playing Welder in non-fire decks, because here, you don't need that much fighting energy, and remember that with Viridian Forest running around, you can just search out whatever basic energy you like. Also lets you discard energy, which is handy for the first attack. And yeah, I know you need Martial Arts Dojo, but this is not a turn 1 attacker. You can have a turn or 2 of Viridian Forest first. And then, of course, the first attack leaves you with 2 energy remaining. Welder, you're done. It's expensive, the second attack, but let's not worry about the second attack for a second. This first attack is really nice. You do 20 damage, and you accelerate 2 energy to yourself. It's not really 20 damage, is it? Because it's 20 damage with Diancie Prism Star goes up to 40 damage. With Martial Arts Dojo goes up to 50 damage. Now, if you can find an evolving Pokemon that's weak, Zorua, but again, unfortunately, Zoroark's just rotated out. it goes down. Something like a Ditto goes down. It is actually weak, but it goes down whether it's weak or not. You have the odd things running around like Oddish that generally tend to have 50 HP, and they'll go down in one hit. It's not going to KO a huge amount. Now, if you're behind on prizes, then this actually does 80, and then you'll be getting a bunch of stage 1 Pokemon, and that's awesome. As it is, it's fine. But the highlight here is the second attack. 5 energy, but 3 of them are colourless. 220 damage. 220 damage. That is absolutely absurd, ladies and gentlemen. Flat out absurd. There are very few Pokemon that can get up to this level of damage. You're talking the Unbroken Bonds Vikavolt, which is a stage 2, and has to discard all of the lightning energy. Surely there's a downside, and oh my goodness, is there one heck of a downside. During your next turn, none of your Pokemon can use attacks, including Pokemon that are newly played. You have to skip attacking next turn. Yeah. I'm not sure I even care. Like, don't get me wrong, right? Sometimes, obviously, I care. But the thing is, 220 damage. With a Diancie Prism Star, that's 240. With a Martial Arts Dojo, if you're behind on prizes, that's 280. There is one Tag Team GX that does not get KO'd by this attack. It's Magikarp and Wailord. This will literally one-hit KO everything other than Magikarp and Wailord. And you're taking 3 prizes off Tag Team GXs. So I don't think I really care. Because bear in mind, right, the only tool you're likely to be using here that you really need is Black Belt. But with the energy acceleration of the first attack, etc., you might not even need it. And then you're hitting 280. So you whack a buff padding on. And now you've got 220 HP. So you're doing nuts damage and you've got 220 HP. And you still only give up 1 prize. But here's the most ridiculous thing about this. This looks like a really difficult attack cost to meet. This looks like the kind of thing where you're like, yeah, there is absolutely no way I can pay this. Even with the first attack, it's kind of awkward. And then you realise that triple acceleration energy is a thing. Triple acceleration energy is free colourless energy when attached to an evolved Pokemon, and it falls off at the end of your turn. That's awesome. That's like really good. Because now it's 2 energy and a triple acceleration energy. Or 1 energy, Black Belt, triple acceleration energy. You can legitimately attach an energy to this, not bother using the first attack to accelerate energy, and then still pay it next turn with triple acceleration energy anyway. This is wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. This is ridiculous. Now, the problem is we don't have Ace Roller. Ace Roller would be amazing here, because especially if you're paying the attack cost of a triple acceleration energy, a Black Belt and an energy, you could just pick it up and then promote a new one, attach an energy and a triple acceleration energy and go again. We're also losing Max Potion. Losing these cards suck. The thing is, this is a card that almost more than any other, you really, really need to think about the prize race here. The prize race becomes absolutely gigantic because you're giving up a prize pretty much guaranteed when you use this. You might have 170 HP, but you're basically giving your opponent 2 hits. Now remember, you only stop yourself attacking, you can still get out the active, etc, etc, etc. But, you know, you are giving up your attack. So you're giving your opponent 2 hits, and even with your beefy HP, even with buff padding, you're probably going to go down in 2 hits. But if you're taking 3 prizes, and then you're giving up 1 prize because they're not one-hit KOing you, go for it. If you're taking 3 prizes and then they're taking 2 because they are one-hit KOing, and then maybe you're relying on being behind on prizes, then maybe that's not working out. But let's say you're taking out a non-GX and then giving up your attack. It's not worth it. I don't think Steelix exists in and of itself. I think Steelix exists as a huge heavy hitter in another deck. And it is a big boy. Huge HP, huge damage. I adore this card. With the extremely strong caveat that you need to make sure that the prize race is going in your favour. I don't think giving up an attack is that bad a thing, especially when you're taking a prize right before you do so. I'm not worried about giving up an attack. I am worried about giving up an attack that will put me behind in the prize race, and they are very, very different things. Of course, if you can take advantage of this and say attack, and then put something like a Shuckle in the active in a situation where your opponent doesn't have a Pokemon with 3 or more energy so they can't attack, that I'm all in favour of. If you whack a Caldeo in the active where your opponent doesn't have any non-GXs, I love it. But you've got to be really careful here. Either way, I'm giving this 4 Wassies, and maybe I'm just being overly excited. Maybe I see a fighting type Steelix that we've never really had before, and I see huge HP and I see huge damage, and I just become excitable. But I don't really care. I think this is a really good card, and I, for one, am very excited to test it. If we didn't have cards like Diancie, Prism Star, and Triple Acceleration Energy, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. But we do. So I do. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a fan of this card. I'd like to know if you're a fan of this card. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. Well, you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.